Yo, what's up? My name is Lena Waithe. I'm a writer and a witness. My parents broke up when I was 2. And, I believe that everything that happens to us is for our own liberation. So because of that, my mom had to move back into her mother's house. And my grandmother, where my mom grew up. And so I got to grow up in the same house that my mother grew up in. And my grandmother has a home on the south side of Chicago. And so that's where I spent first 10 years of my life, because I didn't move out of there. We moved to Evanston when I was 12. But that experience really shaped me because I got to be raised by my grandmother, who was originally from Arkansas. She moved to Chicago when she was 17. And my mother was a single mom who was working a lot and trying to find a life of her own outside of being a single mother and a divorcee. So I had those two things happening. And I had an older sister, an aunt who would come by, neighbors who would kind of swing by the house a lot. And it's really where I got a sense of community and a sense of self. And I would play outside with the boys in the street and be kind of rough and tumble. And I wasn't doing that. I was at home watching Different World, Cosby Show, and then ultimately Fresh Prince and Living Single and Martin. And also watching old TV shows too with my grandmother, because that was the kind of TV show she liked, like All in the Family, Good Times. And we also enjoyed shows like 227 and Amen. And I got to see us in real life every day. And my grandmother would host poker games and block club meetings and all that kind of stuff. And then I would get to watch TV shows, with my family. And that would really bring us together. We didn't even sit around the table to eat together, but we would sit around the bed to watch TV shows. My grandmother's room was where we would sit and watch television because her room had the TV in it. So if you want to watch TV, you had to go to my grandmother's room. And so she often controlled the remote. But for that, I'm really grateful because I think she had good taste in TV. And the cool thing was when I was coming up, a lot of the TV that was on was very family oriented. We could all watch everything together. And that gave me a real sense of closeness with them, but also felt a real intimacy with these characters that we were watching on TV every week. And I think that is really such a part of my DNA. And I carried it with me throughout my life and obviously throughout my career. When I was, I think, in the 3rd grade, Miss Tarbunis, my teacher, said to me, she said, when I read your papers, like your book reports, little stories you have to tell for homework, she would say, you write the way you speak. And I obviously remembered that. And I remember thinking, oh, that's interesting. I was like, does everybody not do that? Is all the other students not writing stories in a way that feels like they're telling you a story? And I was really grateful that she pointed out something about me that was unique and that was different. And also because I really like to read, I really like to speak, I would also often be chosen to go to other schools to recite poems or to read out loud and things like that. So I really found my voice because I also always had such a husky voice, even as a young girl. People, I was a tomboy and I had a raspy voice. So people always thought I was a little boy anyway. But I really enjoyed the sound of my voice. It was a little bit booming. It was a little bit different. And my family kind of always felt like I was a ham and always sort of reenacting what I saw on TV and things like that. So as a young kid, I knew I was really into telling stories and how powerful they were. And when I got older, I realized that this could be a thing I could do, a world I could enter. So, because I had been staffed twice on a show called How to Rock and on a show called Bones. One was a half-hour multicam, the other was an hour-long procedural. And then I sold to Shy. And so that, for me, was about, okay, and I did have a hard time, but the thing about How to Rock, it was in his first season, so we were finding his voice. Bones has a voice, and I had a hard time mimicking that and finding it. I really struggled in that room. But what I really knew that I was like, I might find it difficult to mimic because I was so focused on finding my voice. And 20s, I wrote that pilot before I wrote The Shy. And what I really wanted to do was to stretch my voice. I knew I liked comedy, obviously. I love writing jokes. I love humor. But when it came to writing about my city, I realized, oh, this is a drama. And I'd never written a drama before, although I love dramas. I really do. But I had never tried my hand at it. But I knew a couple of drama writers that were kind enough to come. And I did a table read for The Shy in my friend's apartment. And folks came and listened. And they were like, yeah, this is kind of cool. This is interesting. You may have something here. And that was really exciting for me, really leaning on my community, having actor friends come in, writer friends come in. And I'll never forget that table read, us just sitting in the room going, what is this? And now today to be announced in season 8 coming through is really a blessing. Bloody. It was, because I didn't know what I wanted to sound like. And I think I had to really struggle and put my back against the wall. I was a writer's assistant on The Game when it first moved over to BET. And I'm sure those writers were really frustrated with me because I think they were like, who does she think she is in here? You ain't at the table. And I think I was upset that I wasn't. I think that I felt like I was good enough to be. But I think Mara was right in saying, no, you still need to sit on the bench. You're not ready yet. And she was right. But she let me be in the room. And I definitely had a chip, had an attitude, because I was like, I should be on the court. I know I'm good. And I think Mara really wanted me to be ready before I got out there. Because otherwise I might have drowned and ran and never came back. And I think what I learned was I got to go back to the gym. I had to watch other people play and really go perfect my craft and go to the computer. And I think that really made me start to write 20s, that pilot that would ultimately become a series. But it was that. I was writing, Hattie as like, a know-it-all and trying to get staff and couldn't. I was writing my experience. I was leaning into that. And shout out to Reggie Rock Bythewood and Gina Prince Bythewood, who I was Gina's assistant for a few years, and I was working as a writer's assistant for Reggie on a few projects. And they were also, just by the work, showing me how to find my voice. I really learned a lot about editing and taking lines out when I would have to, because Reggie doesn't really type. So he would handwrite things and I would type them for him, and he would, scratch things out, and I would have to delete things. And I learned about what you sometimes don't need. It's okay to overwrite the first time and then go through and edit. And whenever I would take a line out, the scene would become stronger. When I would take this out, it would become stronger. And I was seeing that. And Reggie would tell me, you have to keep going. You have to keep going back in until it sings. And it takes a while. And that's the hard part, is that it's not fast. It's not microwave. Jennifer Lewis always says, you can't take the elevator to the top. Don't work that way. And I think now with social media, with TikTok, with certain videos, I think sometimes folks, there is a bit of a fast track. It's like, okay, I can make this quick video, put it out, it goes viral. But in terms of writing a script that multiple people can read and feel something, that's going to take you some time. Here's the issue. I think people want to applaud folks for trying, but if you applaud me just for trying, I'll stop trying. And I think what I was really blessed with were people that did not applaud my attempt. They said to keep going. And because of that, I learned how to tell myself to keep going. And I think you can also go the other way, where you don't know when to stop. And that is the balance. To know when, and also you have to trust. I love Baldwin said he's held together by a few trusted people's opinions. Gina showed me that she had like 5 people on the list that she would send scripts to. 5. Because I don't know if there's 20 people. When you get to 20, you kind of lose the voices. You're like, what's happening? If it's 5 people and 3 of those people say your first act is slow, probably is. If one of them says the first act is slow, it might be their opinion. And so what really helped me was I figured out who are my 5, who's my trusted list. And I found it. Justin Simeon was one of those people to read The Shy pilot very early on. He and I just reconnected, and he read that pilot and said, there's something here. It was really important that I figure out who my people were, who are my trusted soldiers. And by the way, those people don't always have to be in the, some people can be other writers. Like Justin Simeon, who is the creator of Dear White People and, Bad Hair, he just got nominated for Hollywood Black, for his amazing docuseries that he did. He's someone whose talent I just really respected and admired. So if he thought something I did was good, then chances are I was in a good space. Melina Mitsoukas is now on that list for me as well. When she says something is good, I go, okay, I can trust it. And obviously Gina Prince Bythewood, Ava DuVernay will take a look at my stuff. And I think that to me is those trusted people. And I'm also really honored to be on their list. Like Ava invited me to come see When They See Us before it premiered. And I was really honored to see it early. I remember Gina Prince Bythewood showing Casey Lemons an early cut of The Secret Life of Bees. Casey Lemons, who directed Eve's Bayou, as well as Harriet and so many other amazing films. I remember her welcoming people into the edit room to watch early cuts of the film, to help her. Mara Brock-Akil was one of those people that came in, see Casey Lemons, and Reggie Rock was obviously giving feedback throughout the process. What I was learning as her assistant was even the greats need someone to watch them practice, to make sure their form is what it should be. And I am really honored that I was able to witness that, because I was able to put it into practice in my own life, my own career. And I still do it. There are people that I don't give a script to execs first. I give it to my people. I give it to my community. I give it to my trusted five. So that way they can give me feedback first. And so I have a greater understanding of what it is I'm trying to say, of what it is what I'm going for. Because the mission isn't to tell the audience what to think, but rather to make the audience think. To ask yourself, who do you want to be? Not everyone wants to be free. Everybody doesn't want to be free, because freedom comes at a cost. So just ask yourself, are you willing to pay that price? And if not, it's okay. I can't judge. Writers cannot judge. Because if you're judging someone in real life, you'll judge a character on the page. And that is the opposite of what we're here to do. We have to make you empathize with every single character. You think about Silence of the Lambs. You care about both. You care about the person standing outside of the cage. You care about the person standing inside of it. Even though that is a vicious human being, he's still a human being. You know who's a hard character for me to write? Is the gentleman at the end of Queen and Slim that sells him out. Tough one. And he's very much hated by many. That poor actor. He's like, I can't go nowhere. But what me and Melina often talk about is the fact that Queen and Slim is a movie about many things, but it's also a movie about capitalism. He is a person who lives beneath the poverty line. He chooses his own security, which in a capitalist society is what? It's capital. He's willing to exchange them for money, because in a capitalist society, money is worth more than human life. And we show him in the trailer. We show him, not really having a lot. And it may be hard to do, but in a way, you can empathize with the fact that he wants some form of security. Everybody wants to win the lottery. And when he sees them, he's realized he's hit it. That's what they represent to him. They're a lottery ticket. You find a winning lottery ticket. Do you cash it in? Do you not? And some people may say, oh, I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't take the money. I let them go free. You are right in that. But there are some that will say, Everybody dies anyway. I'm gonna take this and feed myself, feed my family, have some money. Because what does society tell us success is? So, and also the way for me, if you're ever struggling to have empathy for a character, see them as an 8-year-old. Everyone was once a kid. No one's born a monster. You become one. You're taught how to become one. But it's not instinctual. Well, the next chapter is theater. I'm getting on stage. My first play that I've written called Trinity. It's a 3-hander. It's about a love triangle, about friendship, love, and betrayal. I'll be making my on-stage debut. Open up on February 12th. We're gonna wrap March 28th. And it's my mission to get us all back in the room together. No intermission, but maybe a musical interlude. And I'm gonna bear my soul. I'm gonna be human in front of you. I think my humanness is a superpower. And I wanna continue to show my humanity. There are dividers amongst race, sexual orientation, religion, class, gender, dividers, because divided, we do what? Fall. That's an artist's job. Baldwin has a really beautiful quote. He said, Plato didn't want poets around because it's an artist's job to disturb the peace. And I think that's what artists must continue to do, is to disturb the peace. And I think we do that by scaring everybody by saying we're all a lot more alike than society would like us to believe. And that's the mission work. So I'll see you in Baltimore, hopefully.